veteran-owned company in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. We're a truck accessory off-road shop. We partnered with the CASCADE Frog Foundation to build this truck to bring more recognition to the foundation. What the foundation is about, it's about enriching a family experience after deployment. And if you have any questions on that, you can always look at CASCADEFrogFoundation.com, or even go to jisco.us, JISCO.us, and we can get you to the Frog Foundation to see how you can help and support the veterans of the foundation.
Hi, my name is Steve Montleone. I'm the Executive Director of It's About the Warrior Foundation. We are a local nonprofit post-9/11 veterans organization located in Butler, Pennsylvania. And we have 4 core programs that we are associated with our organization. An economic program, a recreational program, therapeutic program, and a transitional program. If you want more information about our organization, I'd go to IATW, It's About the Warrior, IATW.us for more information.
No, here, Chuck.
Okay.
Jim, how you doing, brother? Did you make that ride?
On Sunday afternoon, so what I do tonight, yeah, like a hand in rusted tree. So what I do tonight. Only one time, life promises and what I see to be only one time. Life, these things that said to is the hardest thing to do. So what I've ever done, not you. Only one time. Wow, what is that? That's you. That's you. I want to thank everybody for coming out here today and putting this thing on. I am not good with speaking under pressure here.
Okay, once again, thank you to everybody who showed up today for this wonderful event. We cannot forget the sacrifices that our fellow human beings and our fellow Americans make for our country and to ensure our safety. And it's every day that we should be thanking them, for providing that for us. Because every day they're out there risking their lives to ensure that we have safety at home. And, I want to say thank you to all of our fallen soldiers who can't be here today. Thank you to all of the wonderful bikers with their awesome bikes here today, supporting the Word of God and our fallen soldiers. You guys made this possible, and we're so blessed and thankful to be a part of this. Thank you guys. Once again, we're Highland Rose. We got 2 more songs for you guys. Check us out on Facebook. And don't forget to head up to the top pavilion if you're not in the brigade. Thank you guys. We love you.
This next song is an original. It's called Walk Away. Hope you guys enjoy it. Shut up, Tim. Go on and dance right to the beat now. You don't know who we owe me now. You choose all of the things you have. Go on and dance right to the beat now. Driving all the old highway. Oh no, I feel the world stage. Everything's ruffled as you laugh. Keep driving all the old highway. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. I never thought I'd go this far. I never thought I'd have to stop. But now I'm still above you. I never thought I'd go this far. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. This way, now that it's over, too bad we're going. Now that I'm sober. Alright, ready? We're doing a little crowd reaction here, okay?
I want to dedicate this one to all our fallen soldiers.
Ready? One, follow me. Hey! 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 How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I've never learned to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn to live without you. How could you walk away and forget about the ones who love you? I know I'm here to stay, but I'll never learn. live without you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Check. You may be seated. Okay. Listen, we have the state representative of the state of Pennsylvania here in Orange County. I have, it's about the Warrior Foundation, Steve Martellione, and we want to hand this mic over now to the state representative that he can make a presentation to. It's about the Warrior Foundation.
Thank you, Randy. Yes, it truly is an honor to be here this evening. I look out there and I see the family of a fallen hero, Sergeant Mills. And that's what it's all about. We talk about the warriors, the true heroes. And Sergeant Mills was a true hero. And we're all so very proud of him, and his memory lives each and every day knowing he made the ultimate sacrifice. So when you saw the bikes out there today, and you saw the people that always support the Warrior Project, you know we never forget those who made the sacrifice so we could be here tonight expressing our freedom. When you stand with our community man behind us and know they're here this evening to support our veterans. And that's what it's about in this community. I have a special legislative citation I had drawn up in Harrisburg the last few weeks, and I'd like to read this. It says, whereas the Pennsylvania House of Representatives is so proud to recognize organizations that help our veterans lead healthy and productive civilian lives. Whereas it's about the Warrior Foundation, which was created in 2012 by its executive director, Steve Monteleone, to help post 911 veterans from Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, and Northern West Virginia. And whereas IATWF assigns an outreach traditional coordinator to work directly with returning veterans and their families to aid in their transition to civilian life. Whereas assists veterans with critical financial needs, provides financial training and guidance, and offers scholarships to veterans and their family members. And now, therefore, the Pennsylvania House of Representatives offers a heartfelt thank you to It's About the Warrior Foundation and everyone who's helped make this important endeavor a success, and directs a copy of this citation, sponsored by the Honorable Chris Sonata, be transmitted to It's About a Warrior Foundation on this day, the 9th of August, 2015. It's signed by me, the sponsor. So Randy, I'm going to present this to you, and I have the honor of actually being the House Democratic Chairman of the House Veteran Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee in Harrisburg, and I've had an opportunity to work with this organization as well as many organizations that deal with our veterans. In Pennsylvania, our veterans are a major priority. It's something that we take very seriously. Our committee is a very nonpartisan committee. It's where Democrats and Republicans work together to do what's best for our country and for our veterans. And that's what I think I enjoy the most when you say rewarding part. Our committee, I think, is the most active in Harrisburg, working with veterans and our emergency responders and our fire companies. And these are all people that put their lives on the line each and every day to protect our safety and to protect our freedom when it comes to veterans. So on behalf of the Pennsylvania House, I proudly present this to you, Randy.
You know, this goes to Steve. Steve and I are building a relationship. I had the honor, I never rode in a Patriot Guard procession, but I had the privilege to ride over to Youngstown and come back with Eddie and go down to into Newcastle here in that procession. It's heartfelt, and we want to give back to the Warriors. They go through a lot of heartaches, and when they come back, there's 22 people a day commit suicide because of the stress related to that. We want to uplift our soldiers, though, today, and not the fallen warriors not go in vain. We want to keep it alive for what they paid the ultimate price for. I like this organization. I like it's about the Warrior Foundation because a lot of that money, 70-some% goes back to the local community. So we want to keep it here, and he does a good job. Just go on Facebook and find out and look and see what they do. We're going to support them. This is only a start. Today's the start of another day, another year. Next year we're going to have the same thing. It's already booked. So tell somebody about what's happening here. Tell somebody to come here and pay tribute and pray for our warriors, because they are warriors. And so, Steve, I've got a copy here for you too. And so we're going to keep this copy. And I personally, as he transferred it to me, I want to transfer it to you. All right, because you're deserving of it. You were in the military, and I think we need a round of applause for what he does.
First of all, thank you very much. Randy, I met Randy a couple of years ago, and I can't thank him enough. He does a great job. To the Mills family, thank you for your sacrifices. I know what you go through on a daily basis. I started this about 3 years ago. I was a school teacher, got laid off. I'm a veteran, just wanted to help out, and it's blown up into something pretty special in this tri-state area. And our goal is to help post 9/11 veterans in the tri-state area. Very similar to the Wounded Warrior Project, the big national organization you see on TV. We are It's About the Warrior Foundation, and we do a lot of programs similar to them, but we keep it here in the area. So I strongly suggest you look at our website. We partner with a lot of great organizations, the Pirates, Pittsburgh Brewing, HM3 Investment Fund. We're doing some really good things. Again, I appreciate everybody coming out and supporting the troops. And I want to thank this guy right here. This guy does great things and wants to help a lot of people, so thank you very much.
I also want to say one thing before I turn it over to Jared. Chris Sonata is an honorable man. There's one thing that I have not asked Chris to look into or to do, or to jump right on, that he doesn't do it. He's a good state representative. He really is. I say that because of my experience with you, and you care for the people. So I just want to a round of applause for what he does, and he does good things. Right now, I want to turn this over. I called Jared a month and a half ago or something like that, Jared, didn't I? And you know, when we do these things, it's a lot of work, and it's not just me that puts this together. I want to tell you, and I want to tell everybody that's involved with this, everybody out there that's been involved with this. I can name 100 names. It's about you. It's about you. All I do is make some phone calls. It's everybody working together. But we want to do honor to our military. That's what this is all about. I called Jared and I said, Jared, would you consider speaking at this gathering tonight? And he wasn't slow to say yes. He would do that. He said, well, what do you want me to talk about? You know, he's got to know what to talk about. I said, well, you know, whatever the Lord's laid upon your heart, and whatever you knew your brother best. And I want him to lay on us the good things about his brother and why his brother fought in the military. I want to know that. And there's nobody better to do that than Jared Mills. Let's have a round of applause for Jared Mills. And I will say it too. Thank you for your son paying the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand up in front of you all and talk about my brother. It's kind of a nice, actually, experience, the fact that I get to share my experience as a little brother and just talk to you from my angle of knowing Eddie. Because you see, up until May 26th or even May 27th of 2011, many of you probably never even heard of his name before, of Eddie Mills, unless you knew him personally. He was somebody who didn't want to be known. Actually, it's sort of ironic, the fact that when he would come home, the very first thing he would do is take off his uniform, put on his civilian clothes, because he did not want to go walk around in his uniform. He didn't want to be recognized, he didn't want any praise, he didn't want any of that stuff. And his saying always was, there are people that did and sacrificed way more than I have. They deserve the recognition more than me. And now, here we are, where he now is the one who paid the ultimate sacrifice with his life. I want to kind of backtrack here though a little bit and talk about, you know, to most of you out there, it's Staff Sergeant Edward D. Mills Jr. But to me it was just Eddie, my brother. Growing up with him, we shared a bedroom. He was a big brother. A lot of fights growing up with him. But there was a lot of similarities between us, but then there was differences between us. I would not be able to, or would not have been able to do the things that he did. That was his training, that was his personality, that's part of who he was. Growing up, the military was something he was always interested in, from Navy to Marines to Army, and he always had a passion for different things, and he loved looking up in history, and he could just know those things, you know, it came natural to him to just read, and he would only read when it was something about, you know, the history of some sort of war and some type of war hero. Those were people he looked up to. You know, he looked up to the veterans of foreign wars. He looked up to them, and he loved to read their stories and, you know, watch films, documentaries, and the History Channel and everything involving them. And it was just something that he was passionate about. But there's one other thing besides all the military stuff about my brother, is that I think was a huge influence in why he did so well, was his selfless lifestyle. He was a very selfless person. You might have picked that up already on the fact that he never really wanted recognition for anything he did. But even before he went to the military, he was always willing to give. And, you know, there was times when I was in financial need. I'm a pastor, my first year becoming a pastor, I had no idea how the whole pastor taxes thing goes, because, you know, you got separation church and state and this, that. I had no idea what was going on. Well, it ended up, because I had no idea what I was doing, I ended up owing a whole big sum of taxes after my first year of doing it. And without hesitation, my brother just, out of his pay, his military pay, just paid off my taxes for me. And he saw that not only as doing for me, but also doing for the church. You see, it's interesting, you know, I pastor the church I was raised in, but it's also the church he was raised in. And he had a personal connection there, and I had a personal connection there, and, you know, that also, I think, instilled in him his value system and his beliefs. You know, his beliefs in God, that always kept him grounded. He was always grounded in a sense of the way he was raised. And I think that because of the fact that he was raised with this strong Christian belief system, it helped keep him that kind of that humility and that selfless and sort of loving your neighbor as yourself and treating well for others. And when he decided to go into the military, he was actually wanting to go right out of high school, but my mother didn't want him to do that. And he actually later on went on when he was 23, which I think was actually God's way, because he was a lot more mature at 23 than he would have been at 18. And he had lived a few more years, had a few more years under his belt, and had matured to the point that when he joined, and he went straight into infantry, it was something he was really, that was sort of the guys that he looked up to, were the ones that were out there in the infantry, and he wanted to do that. And he excelled in it. I mean, it was something, like I said, that he always wanted to do, but there were certain aspects of it that, I mean, he never really talked about it. It wasn't actually, a lot of it wasn't until after he passed away, unfortunately, that a lot of stories started coming out about all the things he did, because he never, even when he came home, he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about, you know, anything like that. And when he joined infantry, and then he wanted to do the airborne, you know, the paratroopers. He wanted to do that. And he was down at Fort Benning, and that's where they had the paratrooper school, right after boot camp. And he did so well in boot camp that they went, they looked at him, and they brought him in. I'm not sure how many of you know how the whole military thing works, but You know, you can't just say, well, I want to do that, and then, okay, you can do it. You have to be selected to do a lot of these different things. And then even after you're selected, you have to pass certain physical exams and certain things. So you kind of get narrowed down to the people, you know, who can physically withstand certain things and mentally withstand certain things. And once again, he excelled. And I think that was God's influence on his life, and I think that was just God's will for his life. And all throughout this time frame, he started meeting people obviously from around the world. And part of that selfless attitude of his, it helped him being this sort of team player, where he was always concerned about his fellow man, his brothers in arms. He was always very concerned about them. And he had served, and he was in it for many years. He excelled. He ended up into the Pathfinder, or the term it was at the time was a LERPS company, but it ended up being Pathfinder company is what he ended up in, which is where he really excelled. That was where he finally kind of found his slot. And once he found there, he was really loved that particular area. And he eventually built his way up in the military career, where he got to his, unfortunately he passed away, was a staff sergeant. He was actually up for a promotion, and the paperwork was in, and it was supposed to go through June, and he passed away May 26th. And even that, he excelled very quickly, which, I mean, we didn't understand that type of stuff. We're not a natural military family, but later on we were told just how he just moved forward so quickly. And then the stories we heard about him afterwards, which some of them, you know, really aren't that surprising for me, being the brother of him, in a sense of how he treated his men. You know, one such thing is the fact that even up until this last tour overseas, he had moved up the ranks, which means that you get some perks, you get some benefits. You know, he was able to actually stay in like an air-conditioned, a little bit better, more comfortable, more spacious sort of living quarters. But he decided not to do that. He decided to stay bunking with his men because he did not want to get to that point where he didn't see himself like above them. He wanted to be sharing the experience with them. He didn't want himself to be there and then his men having to do whatever. He never wanted his men to go without. So if he could have, you know, some type of high-class thing that they couldn't, he wouldn't do it. He would only do it if his men could do it. And he did these things throughout his military career. There were people that came up to us at different ceremonies that said to us that nobody else would give me a chance. They were telling me I couldn't do it. And your brother put his neck out in the line and said, I'll take him. I'll take him. And he put him under care, and he was the only one that gave me a chance. He's the only one that was willing to give me a chance. I think part of that, which is his personality, who he was, his faith. You know, we were raised for a period of time. My mother was a single mother. She had to do. He had to step up. And a lot of those things are what made him. And, you know, the things you do, the way you're raised, has an impact. The way you raise your children has an impact, a lasting impact on the rest of their lives. And, you know, he joined partially because obviously he loved it, but he didn't join seeking glory, seeking fame, seeking money. He kind of did it because he knew that's where his place was meant to be. It's where his passion was. And that's why I think he excelled, you know. That goes true for all of us. I mean, you'll find where you're at and then you excel once you figure out where you're meant to be. Well, unfortunately, very unfortunately, May 26th, he was killed over in Afghanistan. Now, this last tour of duty, what was interesting that most people don't know about the military, they think, you know, everyone's over there killing everybody, but my brother was actually involved with a lot of humanitarian efforts that we weren't aware of either. And he was helping with the Afghan people Because these people are very poor, very uneducated, which is why, obviously, the Taliban, or the terrorists, I should say, are able to come in and easily influence them and just take things from these people because they're not educated. You know, we heard stories before where they got in a vehicle, they didn't even know how to put a seatbelt on. I mean, these people were not educated. They didn't understand. They didn't grasp anything. And they had to try to teach them, you know, different things of that nature. There was another time where my brother was also involved in humanitarian efforts over in Africa, and he was working, and he told us about the harsh, horrible conditions in which he was surrounded by AIDS, and they were trying to educate the people because in their customs, the way they believed was if someone caught AIDS, if they raped a virgin, they got rid of AIDS. So they had to kind of go alongside of missionaries and different people and kind of keep border patrol. They were there actually because the president was coming in doing this thing, but it kind of touched him and made him see just different aspects of the world and how the world needs help. And probably the greatest story that really showed a lot of him is probably one of his greatest heroic acts that we're aware of. I'm sure there's many more that we're not aware of. Was in 2009 when he saved a man's life by risking his own. This was his second tour of duty over in Afghanistan. A Humvee had been hit with an IED and it was on fire. And at any moment it could have exploded as they were there. And my brother and his team, they got there, and the guy in charge was standing off the side trying to figure out what to do. Well, my brother didn't even hesitate, took off all his protective gear because he couldn't squeeze through the carnage. Took off all his protective gear, went through the carnage, got the guy, dragged him out, and the guy ended up living. And the guy ended up surviving. Some of the others, unfortunately, that were in the Humvee, there were several that were killed upon impact, but the man that was trapped, my brother was able to get out. He survived. And my brother did that, taking off all his protective gear. The thing could have exploded at any moment, but my brother didn't even think, he just did it.